What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today I'm here to talk about getting 5 skulls on the Canyon Keep. Now, this is probably not going to be like the most super optimal setup, but I also wanted to show off some of the changes that took place after the August 11th trap update, I believe. Depending on your time zone, it may have been the 12th, but either way, we got some trap balance changes to a number of traps that are used here. You'll notice that if you've looked at previous videos, the double barricade cost has been reduced slightly. It's 1,200 instead of 1,300 now, which saves everybody a couple coins. The auto ballista should fire slightly faster now. The ceiling lasers have had their area per laser sort of reduced, and I believe they deal less damage now as well. And there's a bunch of other changes, improvements to a lot of traps, nerfs to a couple others, and I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how different this is going to be. It'll require a lot of testing. I think the people that it'll affect the most are the combo folks, but mainly what we're trying to do here is see whether or not the original clear I did for this still works, and I believe it does. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to aggressively shoot down these flyers. Just for the sake of this video's part time, if you want to, you can back up a little bit, let them sort of get onto the landing area where you can actually walk. That way you can pick up whatever happens to drop from them. You'll see that I miss a couple of pickups as they sort of float down into the ether and I never see them again. And you don't have to do this. You can definitely take your time. There's about, I think, 6 minutes to spare in this clear once everything's all said and done. So you definitely have room to, you know, not particularly worry about pathing or anything like that. Some of the orcs and minions from either the left or the right side are going to, by default, path to the rear where the flyers are coming from and attempt to go up the steps. That's one of the reasons why you saw me block off the steps in the beginning. But from what I've seen, sappers will not automatically run towards the rear. The sappers will only blow up the nearest barricades to the doors that they enter from. So they're going to target, if you try to barricade off the left and the right sides to force everything to go through the rear, they're going to target those. If you just set up barricades in front of this little joining bridge where I have my ceiling lasers, they are going to target those barricades. And in fact, I believe I'll lose 1 or 2 barricades during this, even though I'm using the trap reset trinket with the barricade health restore upgrade. So you want to be careful of that later on, but for the most part, you are going to be pigeon shooting with whatever ranged weapon you bring. I would definitely recommend not trying to go all melee here, just because it's possible, but you'd have to like stand on a bridge and you'd have very little time to actually try to fight all of the flyers. They also tend to stop at range and try to shoot at you, so you know, you can use that as a tactic to make sure that if you're using just something like auto ballista, they have the opportunity to shoot at things while they're not moving, but you can only aggro so many flyers at once. So it may work better if you're using multiple people, like if you have more than one player, or if you're using the war scenario traps like the priestess or the knight, and they're stuck in an area where they'll hold the aggro and still allow the auto ballista to shoot at the flyers. That works too. But solo, what you're gonna find is that it's better to try to consolidate everybody to like a single area and then just gun them down that way. Now, I will say that with the ceiling laser volumes reduced, the flyers are definitely a bit more of an annoyance to deal with because of the fact that they kind of sway when they move. and that means that in some cases they may just like float directly through the lasers a bit. And it's not so much an issue for the heavier enemies, which a lot of people seem to like to use the ceiling lasers against because of the constant damage. But flyers being able to just kind of slink through your ceiling traps is a bit of an annoyance. You'll see that with the solution that I have to this is really just to create like two areas. One where you have vertical ceiling lasers, like where they're rotated to be placed lengthwise, and another area behind that where you have them placed horizontally. And what that'll do is the 5 lasers that normally come out of the ceiling lasers will actually be right between the gaps in the normal vertical ceiling lasers. It'll get demonstrated in like another wave or two. And that'll mean if any flyers happen to be going like kind of floating directly through the lasers, they will hit those lasers that are now between where the other lasers were normally letting them fly through. And I'm not sure if that will help too many people, but like I just see it as a useful way to set up ceiling lasers. It does require a lot of coin though, and because of that I still recommend bringing auto ballista, just because they're a really good trap. My auto ballista are set to physical damage here, and that's 100% because of the boss. The boss will become immune to various types of elemental damage as they get dealt, and physical is kind of the way to go to shoot Chromatica down. So because I have the physical trap, we have physical auto ballista, we have the upgrade on it to increase the range, which should help quite a bit in this level, as you'll be able to have them shoot down things at a much greater distance than they normally would. They normally have good distance already, but that just makes the distance like absurdly huge, which is great. And then you'll see, it's hard to see here just because, you know, lasers everywhere and I'm looking up, but that's also just some extra lightning damage for the heavy guys. But you'll see, if you can look at the top there, the ceiling lasers placed horizontally are kind of between where the vertical ceiling lasers don't have their lasers coming down. And of course, saw blades. Saw blades are a trap that I haven't featured a lot, and they're amazing. Like, if they actually had a bug previously that would basically let them one-shot heavy enemies, which was definitely overpowered and got nerfed with the trap rebalance patch because it shouldn't have been in the game in the first place. And they're still amazing. They will shred large groups of enemies, especially if you can get in a place with a low ceiling. Low ceilings basically just make them godlike, and even so, if you place them into like on the ground level horizontally, they can bounce in between barricades, and with a long enough barricade pathing, you can basically get them to shred and bleed multiple enemies, which also gives you a lot of room to use other wall traps in combination with them, whether it be acid traps to deal damage to some of the heavier enemies, and non-runners. Runners generally tend to be a little bit short and can miss them sometimes, the wall traps set higher up. But it also makes them extremely good because of their profile, like the size of the trap itself, to be placed with the window of butterflies. So it's a very good wall companion trap, and because of the fact that the disc can just bounce for an absurdly long time, it kind of works extremely well with just barricades too. It's like one of the few traps that actually sets up as like a very interesting barricade combo. And even though barricades are normally used to create like more defined pathing so that the minions are kind of pathing into all of your traps, like the damage that you get from that trap particularly just increases up to a certain point because the blades don't last forever. the better your barricade pathing is. So that's super nice. And I think that makes it probably one of the most, if not the most creative trap that was created with Orc Story. It's brand new to this game and series as of this game, and I would love to see it in, you know, future Orcs games. It's probably one of my new favorite traps. Alright, so I do this a couple times where I just kind of run out into the middle of the Orcs to place ceiling traps. I'm going to say don't do that. There are stairs on the side that we've blocked off in the beginning of the level for a reason, and the only thing that can get up there at this point is flyers. You'll never see any sappers damage the rear barricades, so you can just freely use the stairs, go up there, place whatever ceiling traps you need, and then just hop off the ledge down to the area where you're dealing with the grounded enemies. Or, you know, just stay up there and take pot shots with whatever ranged weapon you have. I highly prefer the Blunderbuss for dealing with flyers, because, you know, why try to be pinpoint accurate when you got birdshot handy, and, you know, you can get a lot of headshots. For most of the lighter enemies, it just immediately does them in. For the heavier ones, you can get a couple of headshots off, and sometimes that will just one-shot them as well. If you're dealing with non-frost bats, like the non-ice ones, like the shock bats, fire bats, bile bats, void bats, whatever, you can just hit them with the ice amulet, and that will immediately one-shot them. They will die. It works better than the stone staff here, in my opinion, mainly because you don't have to worry about your proximity to them. You don't have to get super close, and that's super important for, you know, making sure that you can actually get the damage dealt. It also means that you don't have to change position a lot, which is kind of rough. Until you get this second set of saw blades here, the ones outside the little lower kill box that I've created, the flyers are still very much a problem. They can kind of sneak through all of these lasers. The lasers help with dealing a bit of damage to the flyers, but they also help weakening the overall high health of the heavy enemies that are coming through. You'll see that until like this last section gets built, you'll still have mountain trolls and armored ogres getting through with very little trouble. They'll definitely have their health reduced, but they can make it through with as much as half health. And while I would really like to, you know, think about using like acid walls or something here, like the acid mod on the deep freeze trap, to lower the physical resistance to some of the heavy enemies just so they take more damage, you know, those wall traps won't really work against the flyers, and, you know, you have a limited trap space as a single player, so that definitely would be a choice that would require that you give up something else, whether it be the healing trinket. And the healing trinket I definitely don't make a ton of use of on this particular map. I don't actually take small instances of damage. There's one where I just run out and die, which is going to happen, I believe, on this wave. And, you know, if you're just going to die anyway, the healing trinket is pointless. It's really meant to be there as a way to sustain like short bursts of fighting and give you a bit of healing if you take a couple of hits but you can't afford to just, you know, drop dead. That said, there's a lot of mana pickups, and because I only need mana to deal with flyers and heavies in the beginning, when a ton of them drop, I basically just blow all of the mana on shooting the ice amulet or the secondary explosions on the blunderbuss, and then I'll run and grab a health potion. That can help with softening some of the heavier enemies up. That's the first set of sappers that you see. And again, they could have ran towards the back. They immediately run towards the your front gates. We didn't lose any that time, and we got to get a heal off. If you do not bring the trap reset trinket for heals here, you're going to get another set of sappers later on that will basically run into whatever barricade that first set ran into and another one after that, which could possibly wreck, you know, 2 to 3 layers of your traps and barricade routing here. So you want to be aware of that. That's one of the reasons why I decided to bring it on this level. You can do it without it, but it will require the placing of some decoys, which just means less coin for placing of traps that would actually deal some damage here. Now, these heavier enemies are at this point are pretty much at the point where they're nearly dead every time they come out of the rift. You're going to have a lot of hunters coming out these next 2 waves, just trying to take you down. There's going to be regular Gnoll hunters. There's also going to be some Gnoll grenadiers which show up, and you want to be prepared for those. Try not to stand in your kill box so that you don't get a bunch of damage. I think this is where I go out and die. And it's mainly because I wanted to get out more of these auto ballista. Again, Chromatica does not have any resistance to physical, as she's basically immune to every element in the game. So physical is your way of dealing your damage, and then I immediately demonstrate that instead of running out like an idiot and getting yourself smacked to death by a bunch of orcs, you can just take the stairs. I definitely made a bad decision there, and you know, luckily deaths don't cost you that much, but you know, this definitely illustrates that you should be a little bit more careful. And the fact that I didn't really have to do anything to that mountain troll shows that the initial kill box is essentially complete. We build a bunch of physical damage to make sure that Chromatica will be okay, and then I believe there's one leak that starts to get through here. Not this wave, but when we have Chromatica show up, that we'll have to deal with. Alright, so this is the final wave. This is, you know, pop the trap reset trinket to make sure that all the barricades are at full health. We place a few more ballista with the rest of our coin just to get that anti-boss damage up. And Chromatica is actually not like most of the other bosses in War Mage, where they're released like relatively soon into the wave. They wait until a lot of you know, the regular minions are sort of released to trigger the majority of the traps in your kill box. This is me just blowing all of those mana pots by tossing the blunderbuss grenades at the approaching enemies. It's just because the drops persist so long in this game, and I actually like that a lot, because it means that you get a lot of time to consider when to pick them up, even in stages like Rift Lord, where things are a little dicey.
Flyers in the air.
And yeah, we're doing okay now. This is sort of my insurance ballista. Sometimes you can get like that one heavy mountain troll or heavy armored ogre that just kind of sneaks through everything. I hear the sappers come out here, and so I go and try to take a couple of long distance shots at them to see what I can detonate. You still have about 3 or 4 that get through, and they take out one of my barricades. Not immediately, but you'll see it go down in a moment. There we go. So I just replaced that, since we had a bit of coin from the minions that died during this wave. And then I place a couple more horizontal ceiling lasers just to make sure that, you know, that completes the coverage for making sure that we can zap as many flyers as possible without having to worry about them leak through. And Chromatica finally appears. Now she's going to come directly down the center. She's not going to fly in from either of the sides. Excuse me. And with that, we just take the stairs up, because this will let us run back very quickly if we need to. And we just start pumping damage into her. The rest of the flyers kind of act as shields here, so whatever you can do to soften them up is great. As soon as you can defeat most of the flyers that are around her, the ballista will kind of do the rest of the work. And we just had to turn around real quick to deal with that one leaking mountain troll. And again, that's about the only thing that'll actually get through at this point. A couple more traps, like maybe a couple of yeah, a couple of these saw blades may have actually just dealt with that troll without me even having to turn around, but I hadn't placed them yet, so that's important. We really don't even need any more traps right now because, you know, the wave's basically over. We just have a couple of lingering flyers. I don't even know why they sent any more out after Chromatica was basically just shot down. If you can deal enough damage to that one, there's really not much else that they can throw at you. But, yeah, that is basically the Canyon Keep. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Any concerns about the trap changes or anything like that, feel free to throw them in the comments and I can give you my personal opinions on them. I think some traps in the game still need to be buffed, but we can talk about that in another video. Either way, thanks as always for watching, and until next time, take care. Have a good one, folks. Peace.